Well, we are so thankful everybody has been able to join us tonight. We're excited about these pros and the experience that they have and what we have to share and provide. And then hopefully at the end, we'll have a time for question and answers for everyone. So my name is Cynthia Newland. I am the friend of these other leaders and very excited to share my friends with you, and believe, because I'm an artist dancer myself and a longtime advocate of establishing healthy practices for our lifestyle, that it felt like bringing these together, and then also in a global context, knowing that we need this information and it needs to continue to spread all around the world. So with this understanding, we are coming and joining you today with three of us, Toni and Juan Carlos and myself, from a community called Health Made Simple. We are comprised of a bunch of pros that are from all around the world in different walks of life and different callings. And as you can see here, we're representing doctors and dietitians and nutritionists and people in that healthcare realm, but also people in the physical fitness, education, performers, which is why we're gathering here, and just really love the camaraderie that this community brings, and are so thankful to be able to do events like this together. So in my part, I want to talk about a few things that are, I believe, very practical. And this should say de-stress. So I guess I was a little stressed out this afternoon when I wrote that. So de-stress. So when we're looking at the value of making sure that we are de-stressing in our lives, no matter being performers, artists, or just in our general life, I think it's important to just take time to take a deep breath. I love this particular passage that reminds us that everything that has breath can praise God. And as we breathe, I know that it can be something that's a very intentional practice to just draw life-giving breath in, and then exhaling out those negative things that might be contrary to the truth of who we are in our identity, who we are as a person that has worth or has value. And so there's different practices and ways to do that, but I like the one where you can breathe in for 4 counts, and then you can hold it for 4 counts and breathe out for 4 counts. So it makes a 12, a couple 8s in there. After you've done it a few times for a dancer, 5, 6, 7, 8, that's a good way to remember it. But just when we're breathing, it really helps us to, again, unplug from the stressors and to pay attention to getting all that incredible oxygen dispersed amongst the rest of our body where we need to really have that life flow. Another aspect of de-stressing is mindfulness. And I know there's a lot of different perspectives about what that is, but I really like to think about it in the context of being intentional in our soul, our mind, our will, emotions, knowing that when we're being intentional about mindfulness, that it does help us to enhance our mental focus. It does help us in our overall mental health. But I believe it also helps in our physical health and emotional health as well. Preparation for doing some practices like this, taking a deep breath, I believe getting yourself even in an environment where there's just peacefulness, where you're not playing music that might cause you to, just be extra tense, or just in relationships or just situations. Just get in a place where you can really just unplug for a little bit and take a deep breath and relax. That's really hard when our lives are so demanding and we're just really constantly on the go. When we relax and breathe and take this calmingness in our attitude, I believe it also helps our body. So when you take a deep breath, you can be attentive to, all right, what probably is not in vogue is that my shoulders are trying to be earrings. That's not cool. So you want to breathe, you want to relax, and you want to be present. And paying attention to the deep breath, even in, I'm bringing life into my shoulders that are so tense, breathing and allowing that relaxation to happen and take over. And then practicing being present. So often we're distracted because we're doing things on our devices and we're multitasking, but in preparation for that mindfulness, it really helps to just be as present as possible in whatever the moment is that you have and you're dedicating for that intentional, just detoxing those thoughts. Another way to practice de-stressing is through meditation. I like these as guides for types of meditation. There's contemplative meditation. You can look at scriptures, repeat scriptures over, and those truths that are coming out can be things that you can recite and can come to be a part of really your own understanding. Reflection, considering God's goodness, characteristics, and attributes. So that really starts getting into the vastness of who God is, but also in a sense of gratitude as well. Visualization can be another part of how you can meditate. If we haven't been able to go outside, and I know during this, staying in place, we have not been able probably to experience some of our activities as we have historically in our life, but there are ways to just allow yourself to quiet your mind, close your eyes, sit and breathe, and just picture yourself in an environment. And that is so incredible because our minds are amazing and imaginative, and that can help to just transport us for a little while away from a more stressful environment. And then seeing positive outcomes. So there might be a challenging situation that you're in, but considering, okay, what is going on? I'm auditioning for this. I've just come from 3 or 4 auditions. It didn't go well like I was hoping. And now I'm going to just really see the outcome in a positive way. And when we apply that, then that can help to set us on a trajectory where that meditation, that focusing on the good, can actually come to true and come to fruition. And this other one, just praying, personal praise practice, that's just different meditation, taking a time to communicate with God personally, knowing how much it's benefiting us, offering praise or offering thanksgiving, and then just making it a practice, something that isn't just a one-off that you're doing, but really it's becoming a part of your lifestyle. So another quick area I wanted to speak about is just sleep, and to just ask this question of you: is your sleep habit or practice sustainable? And often for artists, it's not, because we have really odd schedules, and because of the artistic mentality at times, we don't function necessarily like the rest of the world because of the demands of our schedules, but also sometimes our creative energies start flowing at like 1 o'clock in the morning or 2 o'clock in the morning. You're like, so how am I supposed to get a good night's sleep? And then you might happen to be a mom on top of that, and you've had children that are going to wake up at 6. You've got 3 hours of sleep. So what are practical ways to really look at and assess your own sleeping habits? Do you feel refreshed in the morning when you wake up? Hopefully, prayerfully, the answer is yes. But here's some things to think about. When we are getting good sleep, our productivity and performance. Sleep can also help us to maintain healthy body composition, helps us to reduce stress, helps to reduce the risk of depression, and it helps to spur creativity. So as artists, those are all things we need. We need to think clearly. We need to be creative. We need to be sharp. And the sleep really can help us to do that. And I like this focus of tips for helping us to sleep. When you start planning ahead and thinking about, all right, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to get off of my devices. I'm going to unplug and be very intentional about a 10 o'clock bedtime or 11 o'clock bedtime, and make that a habitual training for yourself. Again, aiming for 7 to 9 hours a night at sleep, preparing for sound sleep, that can be things like making sure that you have maybe a quiet music that's playing, or that you've just read a book and it's something that is something bringing you joy, or you're getting off of the blue lights and the devices. So you're just making a plan for a way that you can maybe do something like drink tea, herbal tea, that can help. Other things is just readying your mind. So as you're lying down, just thinking through positive things, thinking through those things that are life-giving, practicing some of those breathing habits. So those all can be very practical. Another thing is setting your room in a positive way, like blacking out the window so you're getting a real solid, dark space to sleep. You can have essential oils or maybe a diffuser. So all of these things can help to attribute towards having a positive, restful night's sleep. And then lastly, in this area, it's just, it helps us to be more creative and more productive. And then my final area is hydration. Just wanted to share a few tips to remind us that every cell in our body, in tissue and organ, needs water to function properly. And this is maybe surprising for some of us, but our brain is comprised of 75% water, blood 83% water, and so on and on. So a great percentage of every organ and all of our major parts of our body are comprised of a significant amount of water. And so we need to replenish water daily. We need to use it because it is going to flush out the toxins and the waste and helps to fight illness. It helps to improve our blood oxygen and circulation, helps to regulate our body temperature, aids in digestion, helps to absorb nutrients, prevents constipation, assists to improve our mood. It boosts our energy and helps to prevent dehydration. So this is something that's very telling. If you are thirsty, your mouth is dry, you're experiencing dizziness, constipation, tiredness, have headaches, those are signs of dehydration. And then one good way to test it is when you go to the toilet, what color is your urine, and is it very aromatic? It's probably not going to smell great, but it will potentially be kind of pungent smelling. And if it's dark in color, then you need to hydrate more. And a good thing that we want to do is get to the place where urine isn't very, doesn't have any aroma, and that it's clear. So that will be a good telltale sign. Am I hydrating enough? I like this equation. You take your body weight, divide it in half, and then that can be the equivalence of the fluid ounces that an average person can drink to help them hydrate and stay hydrated. And then two things in closing. Infused water is a really fun way to make sure you're getting as many glasses of water in you every day, but you also can get some really wonderful flavors and nutrients in your body. And then also you can make some fun natural aids, which is a base of water, but it can be something like, citrus and natural sweeteners that are giving you all those nutrients, but also doing the job to make sure that you're staying hydrated. So there's a few tips to help us as artists, but also just a part of humanity to make sure that we're functioning and cohabitating with others, because we're going to have better moods and just better productivity. So Andrew, I'm going to turn it over to you. I'm going to stop sharing my screen and hand it on over. So thank you.
Hey, thank you, Cynthia. That's so useful. And hello, everyone. I can see a big hi shout out to Rebecca Roberts there, Sydney, Australia. Hey. So I'm talking on physical tips and things you can do for your body to physically look after an artist's body. And I can see we've got a mix of people on there, on the call and things there. But I predominantly treat dancers and singers. I'm a physiotherapist or physical therapist in America, and I treat dancers, performers. I was on West End for about 8 years with Lara, and we raised our family there. And we treated West End performers, big name artists and singers. We treat the throat, so it's quite a specific area, but we treat dancers and dancers' bodies. So we know the hypermobile body, and some of you have been nodding already going, yes, hypermobility, I know I've got that. And how do I manage that well? Well, that's my job. That's what I do. That's what I love. So I'm going to bring up my PowerPoint and share my screen. And we will go for... so I'm going to go for... that. Okay, is everyone seeing me okay? Give us a thumbs up. Good. So we've got tips here for artists and looking at what is going on with my screen share. Okay, perfect. Great. So I'm talking about untapping the power within. Cynthia talked about, how there's such a power from getting rest and getting sleep and things. You can think about physically changing a few things about our posture or sorting out a few issues in our body and dealing with injuries. The body and our bodies have an amazing power within, which is so many things, but it is definitely in our immune system. So I've got a little quote. It's written by a surgeon who turned into a fictional writer, but so some artists would enjoy that he's gone into a bit of fiction. But it's an awesome quote that he talks about this presence in our body of the immune system, which we can't see. It's in there. It's this presence in our body that we don't know, but we know it's there, and it fights bacteria and it sort of deals with injury. And this is a power that is, it's in a very developed way in humans, and so in animals and different things, they have immune systems. But we have got to be so grateful for this thing that deals with injury and that recovers and regenerates. And we've got to give it a place in our body to say that's a powerful thing and it's amazing. So I'm just going to talk quickly through a few things you can do through this lovely COVID-19 season of our lives, things that have changed in our body. So making a place for bounce up. I've just got my how can I get that off? I'm sorry, I'm just going to I've got this lovely I can't get these lovely I want to get rid of. I'm so sorry. Thank you. Let's do that again. Okay, perfect. Good. Okay, we're talking about the changes in our body, and I've just moved a whole lot of things. Changes in COVID-19, making our plans for what is happening in front of us in the time in front of us. We've got to find a place for strength and finding the importance of strength in different areas of our body, and then just talk briefly on singing tension if some of the singers are there. So I talked about that. So the changes have happened for us, and the people that I'm treating around, the artists in Melbourne, Australia now, they're definitely coming in to get help still. But artists' bodies and artists' lives have turned around. But in every industry, so the sport industry, every industry in the world, not just in the arts world, everyone's life has changed quite a lot. So, historically, Cynthia said what we were doing historically or before these changes, everything's changed. So you might be dancing a lot online and doing classes, and well done, and you've got to, and I'll talk about that. But everything's changed within our normal lifestyle, our amount of walking we do, incidental walking and exercise and things. It's all changed, and the amount of screen time we have, it's so important. So usually we're dancing a little less. Some people are dancing like crazy online, but usually we found the trend is people are dancing less, and it's different. So the floors are different, probably less jumping involved and less traveling in your room or wherever you are. Given screen time's happening a lot more, screen time's an interesting thing because computers and things have been set up so that we usually will get a posture sort of like our chins poking like so, but tablets and whatnot are really getting us in a posture where our head is quite far way down. So it's called tech neck. We're giving it a name now, and so it's just important to put everything in our life to know how long are we spending there. So just think now for just 30 seconds, how much time in the last 2 days have you been on a screen, tablet, or whatever? And just, note that, bank that in your head and start to go, is that normal? And is that normal? How much am I doing there? And that's totally normal in this season of our life. But we've got to then just give it the place, get a laptop lift, and a Bluetooth keyboard to kind of, give that time. If you know that it's 5 hours in the day, we often just don't think of it because we do it, right? But on your couch, you're going to get some postural issues, and you're going to get some things that are literally going to restrict your body and will have influence months ahead of you right now. So posture is important, and general activity level. They definitely find that activity level for singers and for those who are just worried about not using their voice so much, if you're more active, your voice is always better. So that's always a big, big thing. So watch your surface you're dancing on. Just always try and move everything. Stop, give yourself a minute to find the best surface you can be on. Practical, silly stuff. Move the furniture. So take that 30 seconds and just move it, because that many people have been hitting things, falling on things, and all sorts. It happens. Go outside if possible. If you've got an aspect that you can go outside to connect to a class and do it, why not? Oxygen, sunlight possibly, all of that. So screen height, little tips are that your arms need to rest on a surface. Try and get your tummy to table, so arms can definitely rest as you're doing the bits and pieces that you're doing. Back has got to be against a surface. You want to maybe sit in the tip of your chair and sit forward, but you'll either be really far forward arched or slumped, and then the on-shoot of that is that your neck is tighter, mid-back takes a lot of tension, and posture, it just gets tired, even though it doesn't feel it, it does. Your feet should rest on the ground, and of course eyes got to be at that sort of the top of the screen. Eye shift has been an awesome little aspect of what helping people is to just shift your gaze from what you're doing. So you're there for hours on end, then shift and just look outside for 10 seconds or look at a different place, and it does something really, really wonderful for your eye focus and eye strain, and that's really linked to your upper neck and even jaw tension. So really, really, really important. Now talking about planning. So just about exercise, activity level, it's always changed. So just think about your week, and just, it's a good time to think, okay, I'm all over the place. I grab classes when I can. I've got work all over the place, but just planning is important. And so at the start of the week or whenever it is you want to do it, try and lock down and say, how important is class, is exercise, is training and strengthening to me? I really miss it. My body's out of whack. My headspace is crazy. So just think about the range of classes you could do. There's so much like oversaturated online things to do. So just try and think of doing a range of classes that will sort out and work towards goals that you might have in your body. And just think, okay, if I plan it, I'll just try and do that. And you feel so much better to tell you, I planned this and I'm doing it now. And I feel really, a sense of achievement there. And then outside of that, some conditioning, you might get it through Pilates if it's a yoga type thing or a strength-based thing. It's really, really important outside of just dancing to do some other strength work that you might always miss. And then some cardiovascular, but it's probably more in that strength and conditioning that's the more important thing, both even for weight management, but also in your artist conditioning. So it's important to think of all those things and just give it the time it can. I suggest 3 to 4 conditioning type sort of workouts through the week. On top of some dance is really important for a very busy dancer. But some of us might just grab 2-3 times a week, but that two strengthening sessions a week can give quite significant changes within a month's process. Think about, this is the most important bit of my talk, that returning to shows, returning to training. So when you've got that coming up in front of you and you know that it's, that will happen at some point, no one of us knows when that will be, but probably, some notice of 3-4 weeks might happen, might be less. And so that is a key time to really allow 3 to 4 weeks to gradually build up your activity level, given that basically you jump up and go from 0 to 100 kilometers per hour and you burn the engine, right? So, getting back, that's where the injuries happen. But it's big things like, so shin splints we're expecting quite a lot of that when people get down. In Australia, some dancers are getting back to dance class relatively soon. They're talking about it. So we're already starting to try and get word out, because we just know that, shin issues, bony type pain, adolescents of dancers getting back to things, it won't often be so controlled the way they get back. And it's just the continued workload that they've been used to is so important for them. So given 2 months of not jumping, of not doing as much activity like that, the big increase will splurge injury in a huge, huge way. So just think about it and try to have a balance of exercise and activity now as a base. Even if it's 2-3 sessions a week that you're not doing much compared to normal, you've got a base so that 3 or 4 weeks we get some notice, and then we go, right, next week I do a little more, next week on a little more, and you just build it up gradually. And do not hurt yourself that way. Tightness in our body, we're often feeling pretty tight, and you can feel tight just now talking to me, and a few necks we're grabbing and that sort of thing there. Definitely it's from many causes. And so we've got a new workload both in screen time and with the less dance we're doing. And we could be doing less or more than before, and they're all issues that can cause tightness. And a stretching is our usual go-to think we're tight in this area, my hamstring is a bit tighter than normal, hip flexors, whatever we're thinking, your back, and you just sit in stretches for a long time because that is our culture. But how is that working for you? Is it helping? Are you still tight every day? And so this is sort of the work we're doing, is to look at it. So looking at why we're tight in certain muscle groups. We get tight because when we overload it, so if we've done a mega class that we've never done before, we'll feel like, oh, that day after, second day after pain, something like that, of that sort of overload. If we're inflexible, of course, we'll feel a bit tight if we're trying to build into a flexibility task we need. If we're overactive in certain muscle groups. So we can basically get dominant in certain muscle groups and usually because we're weak in other muscle groups. So a big place is usually our hips, and you can feel really tight in, say, the glutes or that hip flexor area, and feel turnouts restricted and all that sort of things there. So you just stretch the hip flexors, roll the heck out of the front of your thigh. But there's other muscles that are often that sort of key, and I can stick around afterwards to talk to anyone who might have those questions. But often we're weak, and if we're weak, say in our glutes, we feel tight in our glutes. Often we don't just need to release and stretch the glutes, we need to strengthen them. So it's just a sense of like finding where are we weak. And so the point is that a good shock horror point within Australian Ballet, so Australian Ballet and now Royal Ballet in London, they basically have thrown out stretching. And we all go, what? What are they doing? What are they doing? And so they've thrown out conditions like just cultural stretching. So they don't sit in stretches for a long time, sit in second, sit in first, and just lean there forever and think, okay, I'm going to get loose and get my legs up high. And they've basically gone to using spiky ball, massage balls, releasing tight muscle groups, and then activating deep, weak, often muscle groups and fire them up. And so to weak muscle groups in our body, say our deep glutes, quite a good key example is that will give rise to hip flexors, other muscle groups to do their job. And we'll get the legs up and do what we need to do. We'll sit in, turn out enough. The deep glutes control the turnout. And if they're never woken up and activated, they often don't work very much in your dance class or in dance performance. So you need to find your weakness. That's the thing. So everyone in Aussie Ballet, they're finding their own innate issue, and they work on it. They find their program. So the key is fire up muscle groups before your class. So do a little fire up, activate some little Pilates type exercises to get your glutes on, get your abdominals on, switch them on, activate, find those sort of neutral positions, and then you do your class. So that's a key area of warm-up that is often forgotten about. Lastly, we're talking about singing health. So that's a big area that I love, and I love working with singers. And so overload is often mystified with a voice. And Zoom classes and Zoom teaching you might be doing is often giving this, because we often feel we have to shout, we have to kind of give ourselves way too much when a microphone's really picking us up quite well. But overload or tightness, restriction with your throat is often seen as damage, and you think, oh, there's damage there, oh gosh, I've got to rest, or I've got to XYZ. But muscles have a huge part to play. So a lot can happen with the voice, and a lot of damage can happen quite easily, but it's recovered very well. We've got an immune system, the power within. So, but muscles have a huge part to play. So the throat, the neck, the back of the neck, mid-back, the abdominal region, and how we breathe all affect tension in our throat. And if you are singing a bit, or you're using your voice a lot and getting fatigue, your tummy has to work a bit different, your abdominal area, Then dancing. Dancing, we activate to give ourselves some core stability and give that good control we need. But the tummy with singing and speaking needs to let go and breathe and let the tummy move, because we don't need it if we're sitting or just standing. We don't need that activation there. And my little pitch to give you some advice is that given we're sitting a lot more and we're all screen tight, and screen time, is that if we can mobilize the thoracic area, and those who watch this afterwards, if your throat is something you wanted to really work on, mobilize thoracic area in multiple directions, not only just rotation like the pictures I have here, but side bending, side flexion type movements, maybe over a roller and get back over to stretch backwards generally in a minute or so, and mobilize it. You're mobilizing with these things, fascia in the area between muscle groups and all that, joint muscle stiffness, of course, and do it regularly, especially before singing or using your voice. And in this, warm up your whole body, and then you know that your breath works a bit easier. But if your rib cage is freer, then there's less resistance to your throat, and that definitely links. And there's heaps of evidence that shows that. So you have unlimited potential, and your body has an innate power to heal and manage. Let's hook into that, and let's explore how we can bring that to our body. Thank you.
Andrew, thank you so much. It's fabulous. Really appreciate it. And I'm glad we're going to stick around at the end a bit to answer questions and do a Q&A time. Wonderful. Well, Dr. Juan Carlos, we are so excited to have you. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm really honored to be here with you this night. And I'm amazed with Cynthia and Andrew that were preceding me in this talk. So I'm going to try to explain just a little bit about what you have talked before. How does our physiological changes are damaging our bodies? And we have a saying in Mexico that we are what we eat. And that's really true because as you told before, our first line defense in our body is our digestive system. So the immune system in our body depends on how good we are eating, how many water we are drinking, and as you told before, Cynthia, if we are resting, if we are sleeping enough hours, our immune system is going to work very good. So in this picture, we have some different factors that can affect our intestinal function, but there are some factors like diet that we can change or we can work in, and other factors like genetic factors or biological stress that we can change, as you told before, Cynthia. And when we have a diet that is called inflammatory diet, that is in fact fat diet or a lot of sugar or alcohol consumption, is going to cause distress in our intestinal function that is going to disrupt our immune system and cause a lot of diseases like we can see right here, down here in this picture. For example, when we are eating inflammatory diet, I'm going to talk more about this in the next pictures. We can have a lot of...
Dr. Juan Carlos, may I apologize? I'm going to interrupt just one moment. Do you know how to share your screen with us so we can see what you're seeing? That would be fabulous if possible.
I'm really sorry.
It's no problem. So just on the bottom where you tapped share screen?
Yes.
That would be fabulous.
Just a moment, please.
No problem. Thank you so much. This is very, very useful.
Tengo que compartirla.
And this is a beautiful example of a father and son working together and the dependence that we have on the next generation. There we go. Excellent. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. I'm really sorry.
No problem. No problem. Excellent.
Yes, well, I was talking about this picture, how different factors can affect our intestinal function and can affect all the things that you were talking about. If my intestine is not working really good, I cannot dance very well, I cannot sing very well. Actually, I cannot treat my patient very well if I don't have enough strength and health in my intestine, because it's going to affect the immune system. As we can see right here, it can cause a lot of diseases like inflammatory bowel disease, irritable bowel disease, allergies in a different ways, and even more problems like obesity or diabetes, even neurological diseases like Parkinson or Alzheimer. But the other big problem in the world is the cardiovascular diseases with high pressure, infarction of the heart, and another big problem in Mexico is developing cancer. And it is because we have a diet called inflammatory diet. So what happens when we are eating a lot of fat or sugar in our diet and we don't have enough rest or drinking water or sleeping very well? We have the inflammation is the big problem. The inflammation is going to cause a lot of troubles, as you can see right here in this picture. The big problem is that we are going to produce a lot of like hormones called cytokines, pro-inflammatory cytokines that are going to damage all our body. You as dancers, you are going to have problem with your muscles because those pro-inflammatory cytokines are going to damage our muscle, causing pain, causing that I feel like I don't have enough strength to do my exercise or to do my work. In the heart, it can cause arteriosclerosis, myocardial infarction, and if my heart is not working well, I don't have enough oxygen in my brain, I don't have enough oxygen in my body to develop all my work. But it's going to cause damage in the liver too, causing cirrhosis or even cancer in the liver. But as you can see, it can cause a lot of troubles in all our body. And in this picture, we can see another factors that are going to cause alteration in our axis between the intestine, or not only the colon, but all my intestine and the brain. We have a very good connection between brain and intestine. Actually, we have a second brain in our digestive system because we have more neurons, or we produce more hormones and neurological hormones in our digestive system than in our brain or in the rest of the brain. So when we have problems with like genetic factors, we have a lot of stress and we don't keep some relaxed during the day. We don't sleep very well, as you told us, Cynthia. And when we have a inflammatory diet, we are going to have some diseases, and we are going to need the use of antibiotics or medicines they are going to cause disruption in the barrier of our intestine that is going to cause an activation of the immune system that is going to cause inflammation. That I was telling you, the inflammation is the big problem in all our body, not only in the intestine or in the digestive system. And it's going to cause disruption in the motility, causing that my stomach is going to be inflamed, or my intestine is not going to work very well. So I'm going to have problems with my intestine. The absorption of nutrients in the not only in the colon but in the small intestine is going to be decreased. So I don't have enough energy to work, to dance, to sing, to do my job every day. So when we have a diet that can cause inflammation, and we have a lot of other factors that you were telling before, like lifestyles or using too much antibiotics, it's going to cause a disruption in the gut microbiota. That it means we have bacteria that are, let me tell you this way, good bacteria and bad bacteria. But when we don't eat healthy food, or we don't have enough, even sleeping well at night, we are going to cause problems or alteration in this microbiota. And we are going to have not only obese, like you are looking at this picture, but another different diseases like diabetes, cancer, even autism, or inflammation in our intestines. So we need to be very careful in what we are eating. And this picture is going to is only to tell you that having a good health in our body, it depends not only in what we eat, this is very important. Eating healthy foods is going to help us a lot, not only like treatment, but prevent diseases. But another thing, very important thing, is at what time we are eating, because it's as bad if I don't eat healthy food, but it's the same bad thing if I am eating in different hours of the day. So we need to have hours to have breakfast, meal, and dinner. And another important thing, we need to exercise every day, as you told us before, and not only us, but our families, to teach our children to do exercise, to eat very well, to eat fruits and vegetables. And as you told before, we need a lot of water. We need to drink almost at least 2 liters of water, and have a good rest at night too. So this way we can have our digestive system working very good. And so this is going to cause my immune system is going to work very well. And I'm going to have a very good health, and I'm going to be in a very good shape to do what God is telling us to do every day. So thank you so much for this invitation, and I'm here waiting for questions.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so very much, Toni. We're going to let you jump on. So Dr. Juan Carlos, if you're able to go in and to stop sharing your screen, then we will invite Toni to join us. Thank you, Dr. Carlos. That's fabulous. Wonderful.
Thank you so much. Just a moment, please.
No problem. Bueno.
Awesome. Hi, everyone. It's such an honor to be on this call tonight with all these amazing people. So thank you for having me. There was a big storm out here, but now it's calmed down. So timing is everything, right? I learned so much from all of you, and I'm sitting up straight, Andrew, and watching my posture, because I think I'm very guilty of that. I am on Zoom 4 or 5 hours a day, working virtually. So thank you, because I'm not a dancer, so I have to remember to keep my posture. So my job is to really quickly wrap this up in a bow for you and to give you some action steps so that you leave this call feeling empowered and feeling that you know some really tangible, concrete things that you can do right away. I formed Health Made Simple about 20 years ago because I was working by myself. I was a professor and director of a wellness center at the University of North Carolina in Chapel Hill in the United States. And then I started my own company, but I was working by myself. And I thought, wow, there have to be other people out there that have the same passion of turning our sick care world back into a well care world. And so I started traveling, and I became known as the crazy plant lady, which you're going to know why in just a few moments. And I really wake up every morning filled with passion and purpose, because I want to make sure my family, your career, you have the best hope of having longevity and health and being able to enjoy life to the fullest. This is my family. You'll see 4 generations here. My mom is 76. She is my best client. She does everything that I say. She's on tennis teams and exercises every day and is on 0 medications. And my daughter and her husband and my little granddaughter, who hasn't had a sick visit. And when my children were smaller, I thought that was normal. And when we incorporate some of these very basic things into our daily lifestyles, we start to see possibilities of things we didn't really realize were possible. And then my daughter is a dancer, and then my son on the other side with his beautiful girlfriend is a Broadway performer. They're currently in the Broadway tour of Mean Girls, and so they're doing 8 shows a week and dancing and singing. And then my husband in the middle is a physician, and he didn't get much nutrition in medical school, but he took it upon himself to integrate nutrition into his practice, like Juan Carlos has, and that is so wonderful and important, to find a doctor that believes in the power of nutrition and foundational wellness. So Health Made Simple is about solutions. And before we can get to the solutions, we have to talk about the problems. And the problems are our world is more toxic. There's more stress. There's more pollution. Our water is more contaminated. Our food supply has been damaged. We're genetically modifying. We're radiating. We're adding thousands of food additives that our bodies don't recognize. The broccoli we're eating has less nutrition than the broccoli our grandmothers were eating, right? So we're having to eat more to get the same amount of nutrition. And we've already talked about these foundational health habits, but everyone wants there to be some magical solution, you know, some magical pill to take, but really it's the basic things that help you fix your foundation. And I think we've talked about that enough tonight, but exercise, sleep, mindfulness, stress management, hydration, getting rid of the toxins wherever you can, in your beauty products, in your makeup, in your home products that you use, eating real food, which we're going to talk about a little more. And one that really hasn't been mentioned is getting outside, getting out into nature, because when we're in nature, we're creating our own vitamin D. We are setting our the rhythms of our bodies by letting the sunlight hit our eyes, and we're picking up microbes from the environment that are beneficial to our bodies. So we don't want to stay inside all the time. We want to get out into nature, set those circadian rhythms. As a dancer or as a singer or as a performer, you also care about performance, recovery, and cellular protection. And that's one that we don't talk about that much, but that Dr. Juan Carlos was really helping us understand that some of it we can't feel. But once we understand it, we start making better decisions because we know what we know, right? So that's what I want to give you some little extra science lessons here before you leave, and to help you just intrinsically make better choices. So this is a graph of different countries, and along the bottom, and the green represents the average consumption of plant food, fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, whole grains, and beans in those countries. The red represents deaths from heart disease and cancer. Do you notice anything? They're indirectly proportional, right? So as you consume more plants and fiber in your diet, the disease rate goes down, and it looks very similar for diabetes, for autoimmune issues, even for things like allergies. The more plants we can consume, the more protected we are. And some people think that eating more plants is just eating more bunny rabbit food and salad. And what we do with Health Made Simple is we help families and individuals and athletes like dancers see that it can be delicious. It doesn't have to be just the same old, same old. So we have lots of cooking classes and food prep classes and idea snack lists and what to pack in your dance bag. We also want to look at the long term and what will help you do what you love the longest and live the longest and live the healthiest. And if we study areas of the world, they call them the blue zones, we see that there's some common factors. People who are highly engaged in their community and their family, they don't smoke, they move their body on a regular basis, and they eat more plants. And they eat also beans and whole grains, which some diets have cut out. And that's probably not a good idea once we understand the microbiome and why we need some of those antioxidants in our diet. So how many fruits and vegetables do you need to eat every day? That's the big question. The United States government says 7 to 13 servings a day. Only about 1% of people actually achieve that. The 7 is for toddlers. The 12 and 13 is for teenage athletes. We believe dancers and athletes probably need even more than that. And that's a lot of chewing. That's a lot of fruits and vegetables. So when you're a dancer, when you're an athlete, you're going to have more inflammation, possibly. And one of the ways to lower that inflammation, along with the things Andrew was teaching you, is your diet and your hydration. So inflammation can be the root cause of every known chronic disease, as well as making you more prone to injury. And eating more fruits and vegetables has been shown to lower inflammation very quickly in as little as 2 weeks. So that is one way you can immediately affect your performance, your recovery, all of those things. We also know that when you are eating more plants, you actually can change the genetic expression of the genes that you're born with. This is called the study of epigenetics or nutrigenomics. So like I have heart disease in my family and strokes and cancer, but almost every one of your genes has a switch, and you can turn on the good ones and turn off the bad ones with your choices. And in as little as a few weeks, we have seen this to be true. We also just learned about the microbiome, your gut bacteria, and you also have bacteria that live on your skin and in your eyes and in your mouth. And these determine your immune system and your metabolism. Well, one of the #1 predictors of the health of your gut health is the diversity of plants that you eat, the variety of plants that you get into your diet. What about your immune system? Some people have the immune system that's too excited, where your own body's attacking itself. That's an autoimmune disease like chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia, type 2 diabetes, Hashimoto's thyroid, lupus. You've heard of all of those, but allergies. And then you have the rock bottom people who are catching every cold, flu, strep throat, monovirus, right? And you want to bring your immune system into balance. I wonder what does that? One of the things are eating more plants, right? Eating more plants. My research when I was a professor was in the area of oxidative stress. And when we train, when we dance, we produce even more free radicals in our bodies. They're like little hot BBs that cause little bits of damage. We produce more than normal people do. And we're bombarded with other ways that we produce these free radicals: drinking, smoking, doing our taxes, healing from a wound or illness, x-rays, flying in airplanes. All of these things cause this oxidative stress to increase. And the only way we can counteract that is with antioxidants, which, surprise, are found in fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, whole grains, and beans. So antioxidants actually neutralize the free radicals, and they can be excreted without causing harm to your proteins, to your skin, leading to wrinkling, to your retina, leading to macular degeneration, to your DNA, leading to mutations. So here's a good way to remember it. When you cut open an apple and the oxygen hits it, it starts to turn brown. But when you squeeze a lemon onto the apple, it doesn't oxidize. Well, when you eat fruits and vegetables, those antioxidants are coursing through your blood and protecting you. And there are different ones in every color. So there's different antioxidants in blueberries than kale, than spinach, than sweet potatoes. So eating the rainbow doesn't mean M&Ms or Skittles. It means eating the rainbow of colors to protect yourself. And I think that is so cool. And this was a quote in Time magazine. The news isn't that fruits and vegetables are good for you. It's that they're so good for you that they could save your life. And unfortunately, you can't get antioxidants from vitamin pills because studies have shown that they don't work the same as when you get nutrients that are in actual food. In fact, many studies have been cut short because the group getting the isolated vitamin type of antioxidant were dying before the group getting the placebo. So an apple has over 10,000 antioxidants. That would take 25 pages to show you what's in one apple. That's just 400 of them. Can you tell I'm a nerd? I'm so excited by science. And so eating whole food is magical because it's the synergy of all these little bitty things working together in the exact proportion that God put them on earth to give your body what it needs. It's so cool, right? So what we do at Health Made Simple is we help people make this happen in real life, because what's the truth? We're busy, we're on a budget, we travel, we have picky kids, it's hard to chew that much. We might not even like broccoli. And so we have to find some creative solutions to make this happen. And what we do with Health Made Simple is we meet people where they are, whether you're currently just eating all hot dogs every day and hamburgers, or whether you are already eating pretty well, but you just want to fine tune things. And we lead with education and getting to know you so that we can match you up with the tools and the recipes and ideas that we have that can help you be successful as you move in the direction of optimal health. So when we're finished, make sure you reach out to Cynthia, because we have free cookbooks, we have snack lists, we have free fitness programs, we have all kinds of amazing free gifts for you. We also partner with an amazing company called the Juice Plus Company. I found them 24 years ago for my clients and my own family, and they only make 5 products, which I like to call solutions. And this company only has the 5, and they have one purpose: to help individuals and families eat more plants, eat more fruits and vegetables. Can you tell why I'm known as the crazy plant lady now, since you've heard all about my research? So I want to share those with you really quick, and then we'll open it up for questions. So the first one are dehydrated fruits and vegetables. So these are called plant powders. Think of them kind of like astronaut food. They've actually even been used in the space station. So what they do is they have contracts with farmers, and they grow all 30 varieties of these fruits and vegetables on different farms to the peak of ripeness. They pick them, they flash freeze them to keep all that nutrition, the antioxidants, the micronutrients, the phytonutrients intact. And then they grind it. They leave in the seeds and the peel and the fiber, because remember what we learned, it's the fiber that is the prebiotic for your gut bacteria, right? It's called resistant starch, and we want that fiber to stay in there. When you juice, the sugar stays in and the fiber goes out, right? So we want to keep that fiber in there. And then they dehydrate it at such a cold temperature that the nutrition isn't damaged. and then it tasted kind of bad, so they put it in a vegan capsule. So it's really food, it just kind of looks like a vitamin. And then for the children and some of the big children, they also made a chewable, so that lots of people could find a way to get more fruits and vegetables in their diet. The fourth blend is called the Omega Blend. And I'll share a little bit about that. It's designed to skip the fish oil. So there are omega fatty acids that are very important for health that most of us don't get enough of. They're important for heart, brain, our joint health, especially for dancers. That's important. Skin and eyes. My husband is an ophthalmologist, so he sees people losing their vision due to macular degeneration, glaucoma, cataracts. Also focus and memory and attention. Very important, obviously, for dancers and knowing choreography and staying, your best. All of those are so important, but fish oil can have contaminants like mercury. It's very hard on the environment. So they skipped the fish and went right to the algae that the fish eat. And what's wonderful about this is they just completed a published study that was just published showing that this raises your omega index twice as fast as fish oil with half the amount, because the fish got it from the algae to begin with. The best part too is it doesn't give you the burpy fish oil. You can poke a hole in it and give it to babies and children. My little granddaughter has had this in her body, and it's all from 6 cold pressed plant oils, which are amazing. And then a lot of dancers like to do a smoothie, and there may be some misinformation about protein and how much protein you need. Most of us are not deficient in protein. We're more deficient in plants. So even though this has 15 plant foods to flood your body with all those antioxidants, it also has all the essential amino acids that are needed. And it comes in chocolate or vanilla. We are starting the first Olympic training center on the East Coast of the United States. And we don't even let the athletes leave the gym until they have had their smoothie to reload their glycogen for the next day. So you have a window of about 30 minutes to an hour to reload your glycogen after a rehearsal, after performance, so that the power and energy will be there the next day. I'm an exercise physiologist, so this is really, really important. And the Olympic guidelines are 80% carbohydrate, 20% protein. So a lot of athletes are doing way too much protein and they're not reloading the way that they should. And fruits and vegetables are not inflammatory like animal protein. So that is another plus. So 3 things to look for if you know you don't eat enough fruits and vegetables and you're looking at bridging the gap with something. Make sure it has a food label, not a supplement label, so you know it's actually coming from real food, that it has quality control, tested for pesticides, herbicides, fungus, salmonella, all the banned substances, and then that it has published research. And the products that we recommend through Health Made Simple have 41 published studies at the top research institutions around the world. And for me as a health professional and my husband as a physician, that is very important, from a liability standpoint and an ethical standpoint. But what's cool is fruits and vegetables don't just influence inflammation and circulation and DNA damage. They also affect your skin, healthier gums, better wound healing after surgery. So these studies really show that fruits and vegetables are magical. We don't know what they're going to do in your body. We just know that when you eat enough of them and you eat enough variety, it starts to fix the root problems. And that is what is amazing. So getting back to that whole food, we love to bridge the gap. This is never instead of eating. It's just making sure every day you're filling in the gaps. That's all it is. We're still going to help you eat. Gardening is one last thing I want to mention, because that is a great way to get more fruits and vegetables into yourself and your family. We have many dancers who have these in their homes, on their balcony. you know, in their apartment, and they're growing their own food. And you can do them indoors or outdoors. They just take up 24 inches of space, and absolutely magical. I have 2 outdoors and 1 indoor. They're called tower gardens. So lots of ideas for you here today. Make sure you reach out for the cookbooks. Make sure you reach out for the snacks. We also have some amazing support groups, accountability groups. This one is called Powered by Plants. And every day we post new research, studies, and recipes and tips. So you can just glance in and see if something catches your eye, and be a part of that private group if you would like to be added to that. And then if anything jumped out at you and you want to help us share it, or you know some groups who might want a food prep class, like on Sunday we're doing a giant food prep class with people from all over the world, and we're all going to prep a breakfast, lunch, and a dinner together. So we're doing really fun things like that. And like Cynthia said, you know, you don't have to have any special training, because we're just talking about drinking more water, eating more fruits and vegetables, you know, going for a walk, taking deep breaths. We have people like Andrew and Dr. Carames to, you know, help us with the medical side of things. So I hope that was helpful, and I'm just really honored to be asked to speak tonight. Thank you, Cynthia.
Thank you so much, Toni. I definitely appreciate it, and all the information that everybody has shared tonight. So we did want to take a little bit of time to open up if there were any questions about things that were shared or things that we didn't cover, and just generally as an artist, or again, a performer, teacher, educator, things that you are have questions about for your own self, or things that come up as an educator that you're trying to address with your students even. Just would love you to take advantage of this time to be able to ask.
I have a question for Toni or anyone. I've frequently seen reports about you're supposed to get this many grams or micrograms or this of fiber or this of whatever it is. But I've been on a quest for about 10 years, so maybe you're my answer. But I've been on a quest for a menu plan that gets you your USRDA. So it always tells it to you backwards, but I can find them for individual minerals or vitamin. Like I remember, I think it was potassium. Like if I ate everything I needed for potassium, so I'm just going to tell you right off, I'm a complete failure. But if I ate everything naturally that I needed for potassium, I don't think I could fit anything else in my stomach. And certainly it didn't have everything that I needed in every other category.
Right.
So I'm wondering
That's a
if
great question.
you've ever seen eating plans that get all of it combined, or maybe even though it's the USRDA, is the real truth that if it's a lifestyle, you might not get it every day, but you get enough weekly to, is USRDA really stupid terminology?
I'll let, you know, they may have other answers, but what we do is we try to get people on what we call a whole food plant-based diet. It doesn't have to be 100%, doesn't mean you have to be perfect. But if it looks like if we can get people to around 90% plant-based, then that is consistent with data on reducing risk of cancer initiating into the second stage, lowering inflammation, balancing the immune system. But what's cool is if you get rid of processed food and you just start eating whole real food and you get enough variety, you no longer have to measure grams of protein and RDA and all of those things. You know, there are some, you know, things that could go, like you might need B12 if you were eating mostly plants. So there's some caveats there that we could get you some information. But my goal with my clients for the last 35 years has been get them so they're not having to stress about counting things. You know, let's just eat a wide variety of amazing food, and then you don't have to count calories, you don't have to count nutrients. Your body, we used to think individual nutrients were, you know, important, and if something was good, we needed more of it. And then we learned that we need a tiny bit of thousands of things, probably millions of things. It's the synergy of whole food that gives our body what it needs. And the people who make the RDAs don't have a lot of data for that, honestly. That's a whole nother talk. But I've actually sat in on some of the committee meetings, and they just changed all the labels and just randomly changed most of the RDAs anyway. That's a whole nother talk, but we'll help you. We'll get you some good information on that.
And then really quickly, one small little question. As far as the kombucha gut whole conversation, so I'm a salty, spicy over a sweetie. So I've heard that your kimchi or other soured things can do the same thing. And are you in agreement with that?
Yeah, fermented foods, can be beneficial for gut health. I'm a big miso soup fan, and I put the miso in last, and I don't boil it, so that, you still keep some of that fermentation. And they do make plant-based yogurts now, and they make unsweetened ones, and we make lots of sauces with, for over our all kinds of different dishes with the plant-based yogurts. But honestly, your most hope is to get a variety of plant foods in your diet every day and get that great fiber into your diet. That's called a prebiotic. That's going to be way more beneficial in the long run than, if you've been sick, you may need a probiotic. I'm going to let our physician jump in here and give his opinion of that. But I've never had a probiotic, I've never taken one because I eat a plant-based diet. I've never needed one. So I'm not saying it's not sometimes necessary, but your best hope is a variety and a whole food plant-based diet and all the other lifestyle things.
Yes, can I make a comment?
Yes, please.
Thank you. I agree with all you told us, Toni. Me as a gastroenterologist and a surgeon, I agree with that. Your body is going to take what you need, no matter if you eat too much or more than you need. But there's something important. You need to be healed in health. You need to have health in your not only stomach but on the digestive system. So you can have this, having good meal, having some exercise, drinking water, but it's really important to be healed. And if you have some symptoms in your stomach, like inflammation, or if you drink something and you are burping or something like that, you need to visit a doctor and get some studies or some medicine for that. Because no matter if you have a very, very good product, as Toni is telling us, but if your stomach or your intestine is not working good, you are not going to keep all those amazing fruits and vegetables that you can have. So it's important to have a good health in your stomach and your digestive system, so you can keep all those nutrients. But it's as much important as what you are eating as you have a good health in your stomach and your digestive system.
Very true. Mm-hmm.
It's a different approach. In particular for artists, at times we work from the outside in. Often we're performing, we're aesthetically forming our body, we are learning how to, different technical approaches, and it just seems contrary that I'm getting this muscular development to refine my skills technically, and it has an appearance on the outside, but everything really works its way from the inside out. And so all these things we're sharing, just, the mental, emotional practice, that's a part of building strength and endurance and longevity. Diet, nutrition is a part of that, but it's really this internal working from the inside going out. What other questions? Garland, thank you for that. Do you have any other questions? You're good. How about others?
We talk them to death.
Juan, can I ask, you talked about the gut-brain connection, and I am so excited to hear about that. So what is the physiological sort of connection, if that's not too technical for those listening, but I'm so excited to hear about that. Yeah.
Let me try to explain that. The truth is we have two brains, one brain in the head and one brain in the digestive system. And that's really true. The problem is that when I was studying medicine 20 or almost 25 years ago, I was taught that we have only one brain, and that's all. And the other thing that I learned that if I have, for example, 1,000 of neurons in my brain, I can lose some of them, but I cannot create more neurons in my brain, and it is false. Right now, we are learning that we can create more neurons, not only in the brain, but in the digestive system too. So we are learning a lot. Actually, we are right now. We have another specialist that it calls neurogastroenterologist. It's another word in the medicine that is growing right now, because we have a lot of problems in the brain that the medicine was looking in the brain for the answer, and the answer is in the stomach or in the intestine, as Toni was telling about when you have dysbiosis, that you don't have the good bacteria and bad bacteria are always in a good relationship. But when you alter this relationship, you are going to produce more hormones in your intestine than in your brain. For example, the dopamine. Dopamine is a very important hormone in our brain. But when we have some troubles, for example, in Alzheimer's disease or in some mental diseases, we have more dopamine in our gut than in our brain. But the problem is that when we lose this equilibrium between good and bad bacteria in our intestine, they are going to produce most this hormone in our gut than that in our brain. But there's another problem. If we don't have this connection between brain and intestine, we cannot take this hormone to the brain. But the problem is not in the brain, the problem is in the intestine. So it's really interesting what we are learning in the medicine, and it's another big opportunity. And what I've been learning since I met this good meal with Just Plus is that we are getting the really good food we need to keep our digestive system working well, and we are changing our brain and giving to the brain not only good nutrition, but good hormones, good and very good oxygen, and a lot of all that we need to have a health in our brain too. But what we were looking before is to resolve the problems right here in the brain, but right now we are resolving the problems in the gut, and it's amazing. This is really amazing thing.
Thank you. Andrew, does that answer your question? And I've got lots of things I can send your way too. To share.
I love that our brain and our gut were formed from the same embryonic tissue. I think that that was God's plan. I think that is really amazing. And one of the reasons so many physicians, including my husband and Juan Carlos and his wonderful wife, Dr. Mine, we use the Juice Plus because it's pre-digested. So people with Crohn's and IBS and colitis and reflux. Someone asked the question on the chat. Was it Karen? Karen, great question. So there's lots of ways a physician can help you, but one way you can help yourself is the very foods that you should eat to get better sometimes are the very foods you can't eat because they're so, you know, eating a big salad when you have Crohn's disease sometimes is not going to work because you can't fight through the fiber to get the nutrition out that you need to get better, right? And so since Juice Plus is real food, but it's been pre-digested basically, the particles are so small. So we start people very gradually, one color at a time, because their gut biome hasn't been seeing too many fruits and vegetables. So there can be a little bit of a, you know, a rebellion if you go too quickly. I don't want to get graphic. But what happens is it gently heals the gut and the gut lining. And then our clients are able to start eating those foods again and get back to eating those foods. So many of them have been told they'll never get well. They'll always be on their medications, and combining what we do with the physician's work, we see that we're able to get most of these people symptom free, not quickly, but over 4 to 6 months of gently healing their gut with the power of plants. And I think that is so magical. And going back to the mental health, a lot of us think if we're depressed, if we're anxious, that it's all, you know, it's all in our head and it's all because of stress. And it's all, many times we don't think, wow, it could just be our health, our physiological health. So we just completed doing a panel for our hospital here of basic, just like what we've been talking about tonight, but to help people with mental issues really understand these foundational root things that they can do to get well. And that is not just all in their head. And counseling is wonderful, but sometimes that's not enough by itself. We have to do the hydration and the nutrition and daily exercise when you're talking about depression and anxiety is one of the most healing things, you know, that you can possibly do. So if anyone knows someone dealing with, you know, severe anxiety or depression, reach out and I'll share that with you. It's a very simple list of things. Get in the sunlight, you know, take deep breaths. It's all of what we've been talking about tonight. But sometimes, you know, if they're just thinking about it as a mental problem, they're not thinking about those other things.
Yes, I have a comment about that. I agree, totally agree with you, because what I'm can see in my patients that is that when I'm introducing them to the Juice Plus products, what I see is that we are shortening the time of healing the gut, healing the gastritis, the ulcers, the IBS problems in the gut. But not only that, they are feeling more secure, less depressed, more interested in life, more creative, and a lot of good things are happening with my patients. So I'm surprised, and I really thank God because it's helping me to give help to my patients, and it's amazing for me.
And I believe it is so amazing. And Toni, what you're saying about, you know, the physical activity, I feel like performing artists that really get to move their body were some of the most privileged people on the planet, just like athletes are as well, that it's a part of our job to move our bodies and to keep our bodies healthy and well. And it really attributes to the mental health and mental wellness, because without it, we see that we go stagnant and it just paralyzes the brain and causes a lot of complications. So it's all balanced. And as Toni said earlier, it's not just taking this magic pill and everything makes, you know, it all better. It does make a lot of things better by doing that. However, it's really attending to every one of these areas and bringing attention and really adopting it as a lifestyle. Okay, Karen, thank you for being here with us. Any other final comments or questions? It's been sure lovely
I have a
having
comment.
everybody together.
You hear me?
Yes. Hi, Simon.
Hi. So I just wanted to say a comment and then maybe ask a question too. The graph kind of blew my mind, because the graph that was showing the different countries that consume plants and then how it's correlated with the heart disease or heart attack. Because of COVID, I was kind of researching some of the things like, the leading death causes in the United States, and I was looking, and it's like 800,000 people die a year of heart-related things, and that's so sad. But it just kind of confirmed seeing that graph, like how much of them are consuming, at least in the United States, that was. But for me specifically, so as you know, Cynthia, I don't know if the rest of the people know, I dance with Colorado Ballet, and I suffer a little bit from disc herniation in my back, and so I know there's a difference between local inflammation and then general inflammation, but I'm assuming the solution to alleviate that would be the same regardless of what kind it is.
You need to get to Andrew and do all the things like, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm a little far away, but but I totally agree. I think I've seen a huge connection between your headspace and your somewhat positive attitude to getting better and taking control over a management plan for a back injury or whatever else. And I see plenty of high-level dancers who dance with disc problems and that sort of thing. And like 9 months after the initial injury, the disc issue is usually fine. Or at least way more manageable, and not actually the source of issues. It's other compensatory things. And the nervous system goes through crazy compensation. Sorry, I cut you off, Simon, but crazy compensation. And so eating well, looking after our stress, anxiety, getting on top of things, and really starts to change and desensitize the way that the actual tissue that was injured and the other surrounding tissues can give way too much, can not be the source of the problem anymore. There can be all these other neurons and other nerve endings that are just telling the brain that it's moving or stretching, but the brain perceives it as threat and pain. And so it's not in the head, it's totally as oversensitizing that happening in the central nervous system. It's a desensitizing process that you can go through, and then you can get rid of all this sort of ongoing pain. And that sort of process happens 2 months into an ongoing pain. So it's more happening than we think, that it's just the people who've had back pain for 2 years or 3 years or something. But people have, there's been significant change in my patients, in people around my sphere, when they drank more water. Amongst all the great physio they were doing, they drank more water, and then other changes. So, great diet choices. But it's so multi-dimensional, right? But so I think there is a little difference between the local inflammatory sort of problems and a global inflammatory sort of thing that you're doing with your body. I just think that globally in our body, causing an inflammatory sort of reaction, it doesn't cause inflammation everywhere in our body, but it just stresses the system. So everything's just affected. Your stress levels, how you deal with kids, friends, company managers, whatever, and just even how quickly you heal from niggles, from other things, and then how you react to different foods, or all a bad night of sleep, and all those sort of things. So it's just, if we de-stress our system, we can get more in control.
Wow, that was helpful. Thank you, Andrew.
Awesome.
Excellent.
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
I just want to thank everyone. I'm going to jump off because we have some guests here, but I just really enjoyed this. And Cynthia, thank you for inviting me.
You're welcome. Thank you so much, Toni, for joining us. Appreciate it. Any other final questions? Sure, it's been great to spend this evening together, and for Andrew this afternoon now, that being over in Australia.
Andrew, if you do ever do a workshop for 50-year-old women that were tight to begin with and then stop dancing and then they're trying to move again and it's all painful, I'm your first participant. It did sound interesting, but I don't think I can encapsulate it in a question. But I do, it's so hard to discover when you're young and you're tight. It's still like a rubber band that you can make pliable with very minimal effort, and a lot of effort these days. So I'd love, if you're doing workshops on that or anything, I'd love to stay in touch with that.
Yeah, totally. No, I'd love to publicize all of that. Like, it's such a big thing of dance, is getting back to dance and activity and that sort of thing, and what it does to your body. I think our body is so, like, it is what we train it to be. So those formative years when you were a young dancer type thing, your body hasn't forgotten. But I don't think it's the same things that are tight that used to be tight. And so the way to get loose again, or to stretch or to release just your body, is a different pathway. So it's just like you need someone probably one-to-one with you to say, okay, look, you're trying to achieve better, leg height, or to touch the ground maybe, or to whatever it is, wherever you're tight, to really map out with your body, oh, look, your thoracic spine is not moving, or no, your pelvis is really locked. If you can just do this for a month or so, and then you've got a complete different pathway, So it is, I think, quite individual what our body goes through and that sort of thing. But it's often deeper strength issues, and it's a combination of things, not just what it used to be. But that's what every dancer thinks. It's, oh, I just stretch like I used to and I should be fine. I'll stretch more. And you're 2 hours stretching and you're like, that's not the way to do it, And just easing gradually. That's the big thing. Like, have your goal of, I want to do a couple of classes a week in a month or something, and then just, ease in bit by bit. Just do that little bit of class, and then go for walks, and just try and sort of get your conditioning and strengthening split balanced out, through your week in different ways, and build it up.
I was telling Cynthia the other day, it was so fun to be able to take ballet on Zoom. I haven't taken ballet in years, and still would not walk into a classroom. But on Grand Battements, I'm like yanking my leg up, but it felt so great. It was the mobility that I needed. But I would have never done, it would have been disrespectful to do that stuff in a class. Or, when they start doing combres at the beginning, I'm like doing all these crazy, like just trying to get my body mobilized. And that's been one of the greatest things about not being in the studio, is that you really can do what you need to do for your body. But I still feel like I'm missing a few details. But anyway, and then thank y'all so much. I feel like I'm talking and asking more questions than the speakers. So anyway, I'll be quiet now, but thank y'all so much.
No, Garland, I love you. It's great. You're keeping it a party. Any others? We're good.
I just want to say thank you to everybody, and it was a pleasure to be here. Andrew, it's nice to meet you.
It's wonderful to meet you, and I look forward to being more part of the community. It's awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, I would love to have Andrew and his wife. She's a beautiful artist, vocalist, actress, dancer, but to have them come over sometime. So his wife, how our story went, I met her over in Australia. We've traveled there quite a few times, and then it ended up that she came over to the States and danced with the company that I had in California, and lived with us and was in community with us for some time. Then she left and went back over to Australia, and then met this man and started to lean and like and fall in love with Andrew. And so the rest is history. 2 children later. It's just beautiful. But to be able to have this connection. But yeah, we talked about it not too long ago, about seeing if we can have them come over and do some workshops in different areas. So we're going to keep working on that. All right, are we good? Okay, well, blessings, and reach out if you're interested in any of this information. We have all these wonderful free online cookbooks and free topical health webinars, free resources for exercise programs. Andrew was talking about just different types of conditioning or cross training and different approaches. And so there's some really great ones there that are accessible. And then more information about Juice Plus and the research. We've just got lots of educational resources to share. So thank you again for joining us tonight, and God bless you. And may God continue to be honored through your artistry and the gifts as the greatest of all artists continues to pour into you, that you will continue to be able to give back. Thank you.
Hey, Laura.
You can say your greetings, it's okay.